For better or for worse, I do lapse into using some of the same slogans again and again on this channel because we talk about some of the same issues of effective activism, community organization, trying to make a meaningful movement out of what's currently a meaningless morass of mutually hateful individuals on the internet tearing each other apart. The first baby steps towards having a real vegan movement. Maybe somewhere in the world a real vegan community. And I still got love for all y'all. One of those slogans you've heard me say a bunch of times is about meeting people with an open heart and an open mind. And you've heard me talk a lot about tolerance. Tolerance as a fundamental political virtue. That if you're going to be involved in politics of any kind, you have to have tolerance, not for the people you agree with, but for the people you disagree with. That you need to learn to treat other people with some kind of dignity. Even when you very fundamentally disagree with them, even when they really hurt your feelings. And, you know, some of you people call me a hypocrite. That's cool. And some of you people question a little bit more sincerely and deeply, why is it, à-bas-le-ciel, as that is my name, it's not. It's really not. Why is it that if you practice this method of tolerance, of meeting people with an open heart and an open mind, why is it that you have so much conflict in your life? Why is there so much conflict on this YouTube channel? I think some of you guys are looking at this 180 degrees wrong. Meeting people with an open heart and an open mind is not a formula for conflict avoidance. It's actually a formula for embracing risk, inviting conflict into your life, and learning from the conflicts and contrasts that come into your life. What the vast majority of middle-aged people do instead is live alone or live in the same circle of friends they had since high school, maybe the same circle of friends they had since college. They live in an enclosed circle of mutually admiring people where they're not exposed to certain types of criticism, where they're not exposed to unexpected and jarring challenges, where they're not really exposed to things that are ideologically unknown. And of course, they don't receive the kind of hatred I receive every day on the internet. Meeting people with an open heart and open mind does not mean you love everybody. It means you give people a chance. A chance to do what? A chance to cooperate. Because ultimately, the kind of constituency I'm trying to build here is about, here's that catchphrase, saving the planet. I've asked you guys again and again to question in your own lives how your life would be different if you really were sincerely motivated by trying to save the planet. If that really was what you were trying to pursue, would you be doing what you're doing today in terms of ecological activism, advocacy for veganism, what you're doing on the internet, off the internet in real life, what you read, what you write, what you do with your spare time, what you do in your professional life, in your family life? Does it really square with that mission statement of saving the planet? And I can tell you guys that what I do in reaching out to and trying to collaborate with my fellow vegans on the internet absolutely is part of that mission. And I'll give you some examples. I mean, there are so many positive examples. I never thought I would be friends with Aaron Janis. Now we're real friends. I never thought I'd be friends with Vegan Gains. And just lately, you know, we've really been talking. We've been becoming friends again, or we've been becoming friends for the first time, whatever you want to say. Obviously, you guys heard me say ages ago, I never thought I'd be friends with someone like the Vegan Cheetah. The number of bodybuilders who are now my friends blows my mind, because the life I lived before I became vegan had nothing to do with bodybuilding. You know, it's just surprising to me. I never would have thought I'd know so many guys who are bodybuilders. You know, Jason Pizzino, the Light Twins, the list goes on and on. These people have become my friends, which is wonderful. There are lots of positive examples. You know, and just now me and Carrie McCarpet started talking again. I was saying to Carrie, look, you know, Carrie, you and I, we should have a Skype conversation where we resolve to not even mention Durian Rider. Let's just have a positive conversation. It's great. There's tons of positive results that come out of it. But look, tolerance doesn't mean tolerance doesn't even mean acceptance, as I've said on here before. I remember there was a pair of YouTubers on vegans here on YouTube, a couple, you know, so a male and female couple, and you know, when I first got to know them, I was aware they were right wing. They were somewhere in the Conservative Party or Republican Party, whatever you want to say. but I didn't know how far right-wing. And then with time, the girlfriend, especially out of the two, she started making videos that were racist and that were getting into neo-Nazi type extremism. I didn't see anything for her that I would really call neo-Nazi, but way out at that end. And those are people where I had made some effort to communicate with them, to have positive relations with them, to see if we could cooperate, collaborate, be part of this so-called movement for veganism, because they're both ethical vegans. They want to save the planet. And you know what? After a certain point, you say, I'm not going to make this effort anymore. I'm still tolerant. I never sent them hate mail. I never sent them a denunciation. I've never come on YouTube. Even now, I'm not naming them. I'm not gonna try to ruin their lives. I'm not gonna do any of the things that Durian Rider did to me. I'm not gonna do any of the things that Swayze did to me. Unnatural Vegan did to me. Unnatural Vegan dug around to try to find some comments somewhere on Facebook that I made in the past 5 years that make me sound like an asshole. Well, clap. Great. You think that's not ad hominem? You think that's a good argument? Come on. I didn't do anything like that. I still do tolerate them. But no, I'm no longer trying to communicate with those people. Another example that's both positive and negative, Paul Simeon, for more than a year, I think it's more than a year in my memory, I had really positive communication with that guy. I never had any illusions about Paul Simeon. I never thought we had a lot in common. No, politically or intellectually or otherwise. Obviously, on his channel, he's always been a bit of a goofball, which is fine. Not hating on him. That's been what he does on the internet. That's cool. It's not really cool. I just mean it's okay. But for more than a year, I sent him messages, commenting on his videos, sometimes positively, but sometimes negatively. And I remember once he sent me back a really appreciative comment after I sent him some criticism. It was helpful criticism, but I was saying, look, you may not realize what you're saying in this video, but here's the way in which this is going to get you in trouble. It's wrong. I remember him writing back to me and saying, man, this is gold. Thank you for writing this. Thank you for taking time to write this to me. And he said he really needed this, feedback or whatever. So in that sense, I had a positive relationship with that guy for more than a year, as I recall. And then at one point, he started sending me really insulting hate mail, out of the blue. And I didn't know what was up. I didn't know what the reasons were. And I just wrote to him saying, okay, look, I'm sorry you feel this way, but obviously, we're going to stop communicating with each other. And my emphasis, because what he said to me was so vitriolic, it was, they were fighting words. I said, look, I hope if we bump into each other at an animal rights conference sometime, or vegan activist conference, I hope this isn't going to be a fist fight, and I hope if there's a conflict, I'm not going to start it, I'm not going to escalate it. I don't want any problem with you, but it's too bad we can't talk or we can't cooperate. So this is it. And that was the end of that conversation. Within 24 hours of him sending me this kind of hateful comments, he was committed to an insane asylum. Many of you know that story. It was on his channel. He talked about it openly. Other people on their channels talked about it openly. So obviously, I don't bear him any ill will. I didn't even at the time, before I knew that. But then you find out, whoa, okay, this guy has a bunch of psychological problems that I didn't know about. He never reached out to me to apologize. Even recently, he sent me a little bit of hate mail recently. And I said to him, look, you really want to do this? What are the criteria? When do you give up on people? Whether it's the right-wing people or Paul Simeon, the question just is, can I cooperate with you? And if the answer is no, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person either. It reflects things about you, it reflects things about me. But all I'm looking for is, can I cooperate with you? I had that conversation. It's a podcast on Patreon. If you want to hear the whole thing, I put up a few minutes of it with Amy, the vegan transition. Is Amy a good person? I don't know. I don't know her that well. I said to her the other day, look, I still want to cooperate with you. Even if you vote for Donald Trump, even if you vote for, because I pointed out to her, we never talked about politics that way. Like in theory, she could be right wing. I doubt it. But, I said, look, for me, this is not about your private life. It's not about your private beliefs. It's not about, your political values may be different from mine. There may be all kinds of things that surprise me about you. I don't know. The basic question just is, can I cooperate with you? And if I can, that's something so precious and so meaningful and so important to me that, yeah, you know what? I'm willing to tolerate that there's a whole lot wrong with you, or there's a whole lot that I disagree with you about. And again, I see that in a guy like Vegan Gains too. I mean, if I made a list of things I disagree with Vegan Gains about, it's a long list. And way back in the day, I told him before his channel was ever popular, I said to him, look, man, I don't approve of you whipping out a knife on camera. There's just no way I can countenance that. There's no way I can morally, ethically, what have you. And I said to him, I know what it's like to have a knife pulled out at me in real life. I don't know if you do, and in terms of what veganism's about and what YouTube's about and everything else, this is just, to me, this is over the line. So he knows I feel that way. But apparently, it's wonderful. He's been communicating with me. Apparently, we can cooperate. That's something so precious and so important and so integral to this question of saving the planet that we pretend we care about. That, yeah, I don't overlook what Vegan Gains does that offends me or that I disagree with. I don't overlook it. I don't ignore it. I tolerate it. And he knows that I disagree. And he can recognize that disagreement. We can keep moving. And I hope we can cooperate. I mean, we're both Canadian citizens. It's really likely we'll see each other at an animal rights conference or an ecology conference or some vegan event, or even, that I'll organize an event and I'll invite him to it. Totally, I'd do that with Vegan Gains, even though he knows what I disagree with him about. Because that's tolerance, that's cooperation, that's collaboration. And again, there are limits. If someone's actually a neo-Nazi, they're over the limits. If someone's actually a communist, for me, that's over the limit. And with the anarchist extremists, you got to look at it on a case-by-case basis. If someone's an anarchist and they're pro-violence, I don't really want to make that compromise. So a lot of you guys were surprised about what happened with me and Unnatural Vegan, but I wasn't. You don't know her the way I do, and a lot of you ignored the order of events. She was misleading in her video on it, which is fine. Misleading is not the same thing as a lie. She names my 15-minute video that has, Civil War in the title, but then she ignores the entire content of that video because that video was really reasonable, and she wanted to make me sound unreasonable. And, she's playing these games. In the emails to me, she was doing it even more, saying she was going to dig up comments like by me and about me from Buddhist discussion forums where I'm being an asshole or whatever. And I mean, I've been through real things in my life. What I said back to her on that was, look, do you know what it's like to dedicate more than 10 years of your life to becoming a specialist in a field, having real expertise in a field? And I've got all kinds of links on the internet reflecting that. I've given a lecture at Oxford University, England, at the invitation of a professor emeritus. Everyone in the audience, almost everyone, my girlfriend was an exception, almost everyone in the audience was a professor themselves for that lecture. It was a really elite lecture. Given a lecture at SOAS, University of London, specialized department for Asian Studies. I've given lectures in Taiwan and in Cambodia. And if you just look around the internet, if you just Google, there's one website called Palibasa that gives a list of links for, what's currently useful for that area of studies, Theravada Buddhist studies, Pali studies. And my name is on a shockingly large percentage of those links. I didn't make that website. I'm not friends with the guy who did. I don't know him. But I know why. In that field, it's true. My contribution in a short period of time with a lot of disadvantages, I made a big contribution in that field. And some people love me for it, and some people hate me for it. But, someone like Swayze, someone like Unnatural Vegan, she can't relate to that at all. And I've got to ask her, do you know what that's like in any field of study, whether philosophy, science, any field? And then you walk into the room, whether it's a room in real life with people face-to-face or on Facebook, and people are saying things that are egregiously factually wrong and offensive and hurtful to you personally about your area of expertise. Because with Buddhism, people feel entitled, and they do that all the time. Buddhism is the worst. Like with Islam, people are a little bit scared to voice their opinion about Islam. Like with a lot of things, people will kind of back off. No. Buddhism, it doesn't matter. They had one conversation with some guy who calls himself a Dharma master. They feel like an expert. They saw a couple of kung fu movies. They read a book on an airplane that they bought in the airplane lounge. And they feel like an expert on Buddhism, and they're going to tell you. And, people on a skeptic forum on Facebook, they read a Wikipedia article about how scientific the benefits of meditation are. They really haven't looked into it, and they're going to tell you. They feel like they're the expert. They're going to tell you. It's like, well, you know what? I'm the only guy here who reads Pali, who reads the ancient. It's Pali. Reading Pali is like reading Latin or reading Greek. It's just an ancient dead language. I did the study. I'm the only guy who's done this research. And yeah, you know what? I do get to make fun of you. I do get to make some sarcastic remarks in these forums because I've been through it. And that's what I did with 10 years of my life. And I'm not real apologetic about that. The only other thing in my life that I'd really parallel that to, and that often is of decisive influence, is my engagement with indigenous peoples all over, but including within Canada, the Cree and Ojibwe. But it's really indigenous minority issues, anti-colonialism, anti-genocide on a global level. Like there was one guy I knew who was he was an aspiring scholar of Cambodia, so he was still getting, he was getting a master's degree at the time. I forget what stage he was at. But he was a guy I knew in Cambodia, and I put a lot of effort into getting to know him and trying to cooperate with him and trying to collaborate with him, even though this is before veganism was my main thing. But there was a humanitarian element to that. I'd done volunteer work. He'd done volunteer work. So there were humanitarian and political elements to it, not just academic or scholarly elements. And, one day, obviously this is mostly about Cambodia and Thailand, most stuff we talked about, that part of the world, Laos, whatever. And one day he just made this series of statements that were pro-genocide, pro-colonialism, and basically racist against the Aboriginal people of Australia. From my perspective, they were. And a lot of people from Australia believe that. A lot of people would regard what he had to say as moderate. Left-wing people and right-wing people and center, like those views are common in Australia. But the minute he said that stuff to me, from my perspective, he was over the line. I didn't get angry. I didn't get in his face. But from my perspective, he probably still doesn't know. From my perspective, at that moment, the friendship was over. And I would never cooperate with him, and I would never collaborate with him. And that was it. You meet people with an open heart and an open mind, and you give them a chance. I did that with Brett Rawlings. I did that again and again with Joe Best. I wrote Joe Best factual emails. I give people a chance. Even though Brett Rawlings had insulted and reviled me and denigrated me on the internet so many times, when I was in Chiang Mai, I said, hey man, do you want to meet? Do you want to patch it up? You want to put this on a positive basis? He said, no, that's cool. Keep it moving. I give people a chance to do the positive thing, to make a positive relationship out of a negative one, to set a basis for some kind of cooperation. Even when we've got nothing in common, even if I think they're an idiot, frankly, even if I think they're stupid, I give people that chance, and I see if something positive can come from it. But when you go around with an open heart and an open mind, you get your heart broken again and again and again until there is nothing left to break. And that's the strength I have in this world. Okay? It's not a purely philosophical strength. It's not a theoretical or abstract idea. Okay, when I was saying to Durian Rider, when he was getting in my face, that I don't care if I live or die, that he can kill me, but he can't harm me, that he can beat me up, but that I'm not going to feel bad about it. And a lot of you guys watching this, for some of you will have no idea what I'm talking about. For some of you, this will be a memory from like 20 years ago you hadn't thought about. And for some of you, you won't relate to it all, whatever. So for some of you, this is a memory from last weekend. Okay, when you go through a fist fight, doesn't matter if you win. Okay, there's a lot of physical pain for days afterwards. Not just your knuckles hurt. You put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and there's pain. Your teeth all feel like they're in the wrong place for days. Your face is swollen up in a strange way. When you put your face down on the pillow, it hurts so you can't sleep for days. All right? That's what a real fist fight is like, okay? I'm not soft. Look, this is the most ridiculous thing. In those videos I had to say before, I'm not a tough guy. I just happen to be tougher than these guys. If you guys actually watched through the video about what went down between me and Brett Rawlings or between me and Joe Best, the other sad thing is I keep saying to you, I'm not a nice guy, but the reality is I am nicer than these guys. I really have made the effort to reach out to people positively and collaborate with them positively again and again and again. And in so many cases, like I mentioned before, I mentioned a whole bunch of names, including in so many cases, it has paid off. I have wonderful, positive, collaborative relationships with so many people, and I do value that. But dude, sometimes it just ain't gonna work. No matter how much you try, Joe Best is just never going to catch on. He's never going to get it. Brett Rawlings is never going to catch on. He's never going to get it, and that's okay. And I've got to tell you, the thing with me and Unnatural Vegan, it goes back further than you guys know, and the actual sequence of events, what happened, isn't quite what you guys see. There's no point getting into details. But yeah, basically, you know what? You try, and at some point, you got to stop trying and just keep it moving. At the time when Durian Rider was freaking out and imagining in his mind that I was plotting to destroy him in Chiang Mai, I was not thinking about Durian Rider at all. At the time when Durian Rider started defaming me, making threats of violence against me, etc., at the time when that started, I had just gone to the zoo. I was taking footage of the zoo, and I was going to make a video talking about vegan ethics and zoos, those issues. I was not thinking about denouncing or criticizing Durian Rider or Roth at all. It was not on my mind. And one of the things I saw at that zoo, because I wanted to see what the conditions of animals were and what the treatment was, they had a show they put on stage. And at one point during this show, the magician, if you like, the MC, the leader of the show, he pulled down a poster. And the poster said in both Thai and English, and I could read the Thai, it's a simple enough phrase in Thai. It said, "Save the planet." And it was at that moment, sitting in that zoo, recording that on tape for a video, thinking about what I was going to put in the video, that I really started thinking, in contrast to all the nonsense that was going on in Chiang Mai, or all the nonsense that's happening on YouTube, how would we be acting different? How would we be behaving differently if we were really trying to save the planet? And I still think that way. And when I reach out to and try to positively cooperate with someone who is as profoundly alien from me as Vegan Gains or Pau Simeon or Unnatural Vegan, that is what's going on in my heart and my mind. And, a lot of you guys get your hearts broken out here, and a lot of you are not cut out for this game. Really, a lot of you. A lot of you have talked to me privately. I know. A lot of people on YouTube have suffered horribly, like emotional breakdowns in response to, several, some of you know privately who you are. Obviously, I'm not going to name names. Okay? I'm not like that, because I'm past that. When I was saying to Durian Rider that, he can't hurt me, that was really sincere. And, when you can't be hurt, that's exactly when you're at the point of detachment and self-discipline, when you can be helping others.